What did South Africa use before candles? Electricity. That's the joke that load shedding slash ESCOM has been always about. It's these funny memes that we make, after the fact that it's just gives us a nice chuckle. There's even one with the Lion King where Mufasa says to Simba that over there, that darkness over there used to be South Africa before is South Africa after load shedding. It's hilarious, funny memes all about. But we do have to talk about it in a very serious manner. And I don't think a lot of South Africans have engaged fully into understanding why some of these problems have existed and how we fix this. There's a lot of complications, a lot of not only just our own national politics, but international politics as well. It's a very complicated subject, but I'm willing to guide through you all through this. Now, what I'm going to show you next is a Wikipedia article. I have all the relevant information that I am looking for, the information that is describing the problems and how it got there, because this is the only reason I'm using Wikipedia, is just to give a nice summarization of all the things we're going through. And I'll provide all the other sources that I have in the link description below. You can read it, you can go for it. And another thing just to discuss here, Wayback Machine, a lot of these articles are gone or cannot be found anymore. So this is what the Wayback Machine is being used for. It's just to be able to actually read the substance they have. A lot of these articles are also a bit old, being dated to 2008, but that still means they still have relative information to this topic because we're talking about how it began, not necessarily what are the problems currently, but we will be discussing some of the problems currently. So as we have here, just some background information quickly. So decision makers and leaders both in Eskom and in the government predicted in late 1990s that Eskom would run out of power reserves by 2007 unless action was taken to prevent it. In 1998, Eskom acquired a minority stake in alternative energy technology company Amazing Anzia Systems Private Limited, with the vision of incorporating it into its joint venture with Royal Dutch Shell as a part of the Shell Solar Homes project. Controversy interrupted with the cancellation of Shell Solar project and the rollout of the free and subsidized currents and water heaters and stoves due to political pressure. So this background information is very important. There's obviously a lot more substantial stuff. Again, link description. And this is basically just informing us that, yes, we were going to lose power for a multitude of reasons. So if I can show you here in this one, a national emergency by News 24, which goes through some stuff. So right here, if you can look up here, meanwhile, existing power plants were mothballed, taken out of service, and Eskom was instructed to stop building new power plants. Eskom advised municipalities in late 1980s and early 1990s to close down their own power stations as too much power was being generated. Only in 2004 was Eskom instructed to build new power plants. So this is a lot of information process. Let's just go step by step. So now, the reason why Eskom didn't build any new power plants was because most of our power generation and our plans to expand the economy was in line to the economic growth. So the economic growth was 3% per year. It was predicted to be that, and it's going to be predicted to that continue until a set amount of time. But South Africa just somehow grew better economy and a better economy, and the growth just skyrocketed from 3% to 6%, which means like you have to replan a lot of things. Meaning the power wasn't going to be enough. Meaning the water isn't going to be enough. Meaning the housing wasn't going to be enough. That's a lot of the problems that stem from South Africa. Is that we just grew too fast for our country, and that's why we are in some of the situations we're in today, because our economy just grew too fast. Which in normal circumstances would be amazing. Like obviously it would be amazing, but currently not so much. And as we continue on here, the first period of the crisis of energy. So it says here, several causes have been postulated, including skill shortages and increase in demand for electricity around the country. So this aligns with the we grew too fast, meaning we couldn't meet up demand for electricity and a bunch of other stuff. This includes for skill shortages as well, because if we were growing too fast, we needed more electricity. No, more electricity needs more technicians. More technicians means more incentivizing them to be able to enter into that field. There's a lot of things that we weren't prepared for because our government was just not expecting such a growth to occur. And then we can get in the international politics of here. ESCOM was criticized for exporting electricity to neighboring African states while not having the capacity to meet the market demand. ESCOM, however, announced on 20 January 2008 that it has ceased to export power. The government claimed the shortage has caught them off by surprise since the South African government had grown faster than expected. However, the target growth rate of 6% per year was not reached from 1996 to 2004. The average GDP rate was then 3.1%. The year 2012 frequently mentioned the earliest possible end of the power shortages. So here we have this bit of information. So when the government claimed that the shortage caught by surprise, the South African had grown faster. However, the target growth rate 6% has. So we were close to 6%, and we hit it sometimes. But some of the other predictions that I'll go through some of the other sources have said we did hit a 6% increase. Some said we haven't. That's why I did say 6% because I thought it was the more accurate one because a lot of other sources claim that as well. I could be wrong again, but this is the most common one. That's why I said 6%. But again, still the claim in the fact that our GDP just grew too much for us, and we weren't expecting that because again, and this is the reason why we didn't build extra stuff just in case is because one, South Africa was a developing nation, and developing nations can't just spend money willy-nilly. Developed nations definitely can do spending a lot more liberally than we can, because if we spend money just willy-nilly however we wish to, we're going to fundamentally hurt our ability to grow further. So that's why we were much more lenient, much more harsher on our spending for our expansion of our economy, because we didn't understand if we could or could not. So we just played it safe at that point. It didn't work out for us. Second period. So now this one is just talking about coal and how our coal mines weren't producing as much, and it was going to be a lot more harder to be able to produce electricity because a lot of electricity is based on fossil fuels. And then we go to the third period, which basically means that yeah, we just lost some temporary loss of generation capacity, meaning some power outages and whatnot. And then our fourth one, the one that we're currently in, yeah, this one is basically just stating that some of it like political, kind of. It's very complicated, but as you can see here, a combination of factors were blamed for the fourth period of load shedding, ranging from the weather to allegations of sabotage and neglect. Unusual heavy rains in the high veld regions of Africa results in wet coal and flooding, leading to a number of plants being unable to operate efficiently. Most notably, this power station, President Ramaphosa stated that additional reasonings for load shedding is loss of 2,000 megawatts due to alleged sabotage by ESCOM employees. And here are those allegations. So basically, this article just goes through quickly on seemingly ESCOM employees have, just broke it down, and it's very complicated. It's like, higher raise, political reasonings, and then we have another one, similar article. It goes through the similar sources, but just words a bit differently and gives a bit different context to the information. Then we can go into the other part of it, which is we went through the how we got to this point. We didn't plan for it, and if we also go into the fourth period, let's just quickly go here before I forget. ESCOM Chief Operations Officer Jan Opleer Hossier, I cannot pronounce names, publicly stated that the primary reason for load shedding was due to the lack of maintenance in the grid over the preceding 12 years, was resulting in an unpredictable and unreliable system. South African opposition parties criticized the ANC and the President Ramaphosa for the way in which they handled the crisis. An additional round of load shedding. Okay, so basically that's it. All these combinations, and we can summarize this, all these combinations of us losing the ability to generate enough power for the whole of South Africa is a combination of international politics, our allies in the larger world, rely on us for some power generation. So we had to, provide them with some power for much more longer term than we did before, but we had to cut it off because, our needs would need to be met as well. Did not expect it. And this is the thing I don't see a lot of people speaking about, is that we did not expect our country to grow that fast. That's the government's position. And since we did not expect our economy to grow that fast, we allocated resources to other places where we needed it at the moment. Because if you remember what I said about developing nations needing the resources allocated very perfectly to be able to maximize the amount of growth that we can have. That's why, because we needed to maximize the growth so that we wouldn't misspend all of our money and thinking that, oh, maybe this will happen, but it doesn't. And then we wasted all that money for nothing. And then third reason is lack of maintenance. And there are other smaller ones like the skill shortages as well, but that's more downstream with the didn't expect our economy to grow faster, so we didn't prepare for making more electricity. Because then, if we did prepare for more electricity buildings, we would have hired more people, gotten better infrastructure, better equipment. So a lot of that is downstream of us not expecting that. And then now our third reason, as I said before, lack of maintenance. The buildings that we did have, we did not maintain them a lot. Now, this is due to a policy called Keep the Lights On, paraphrasing a bit of it, of course, is that our attempt to make sure South Africa never goes dark, and that inherently didn't allow us, because occasionally power stations will have to turn off to be able to do maintenance, to make sure everything up to standards, and to replace old equipment, and to sometimes even rebuild certain facets of that power plant. We didn't do that a lot, and that's what we're facing currently. So now next, we're going to go through the effect on the economy. Now again, electricity, I describe it as being one of the great liberators. Money is the great liberator in terms of allowing us to access a whole range of new economic goods, but electricity is a liberator in the sense as it makes our ability to have new things and to improve old things better. We can communicate better. We can work into the night so much more better, because if it was darker, we wouldn't be able to see and our visibility would be hampered. We were able to produce new things, such as cars. Cars would have never been invented without electricity, and also televisions, because televisions is one of those great things that we have never been made without electricity. These are like why I think electricity is a great liberator, and since it is one of those liberators, removing that has huge ramifications on our freedoms, not in like a physical sense, an active sense, more of in a passive sense. Because if we can read here, our platinum and platinum went extremely down, because we weren't able to use our mines more effectively, because we didn't have electricity, meaning we're producing less goods, selling less goods, therefore our economy is going a lot more down. Then the next one is banks and telecommunications. Now, again, there's the banks and telecommunications. I don't know why I read it as banks here, but banks and telecommunications. A lot of banks are going towards a digital foundation while telecommunications is based on electricity. You read news articles of Vodacom towers being um, literally unusable because of the on and off electricity, and that is messing it with its power consumption. A lot of that is breaking down, and now these companies have to spend large amounts of money to repair it, to get generators, and to be able to make sure nothing gets stolen at the time, especially the banks, because banks, when their digital foundations just fall down, it allows open attacks, and also it's just bad for business because banks have to be operated a lot of times during the day and even during night. There's a lot of crucial things riding on banks as well. That has a huge impact. And then we get to the next one, which is big companies with international investors have also been affected by the electricity crisis and had no choice but to announce that these effects to the international community, bringing the situation to the attention of potential foreign investors, meaning that foreign investors who look at our country and see we don't even have the basic necessity, basic or sustainability and reliability of electricity will see us and go like, we're not going to invest there. It's unpredictable. There's no way for us to be able to logically see the future that this will be a sustainable investment, and they just don't do that. And then we can go into the small business owners, which have a lot more effect to it. With big businesses, they can kind of survive the storm, right? They're big, they have large amounts of money, they can just redirect funds without losing employees nor losing any real market share. They don't have to do that. But small business owners are the ones that are extremely affected in this power crisis. Small business owners in South Africa said that load shedding was the number one challenge that they faced in Q1 of 2019. In small businesses, Sentiment reported of 3,984 small business owners, 44%, said that they had been severely affected by load shedding, with 85% stating that it had reduced their revenue. 40% of small businesses lost revenue of 20% or more during the load shedding periods. 20% of the owners said that if load shedding were to continue at similar levels to Q1 and Q of 2019, they will consider reducing their staff levels and will closing their businesses, which by all means is horrible. And since we still continue load shedding, a lot of these businesses have reduced employees and closed down their businesses, which is the awful because now our economy has become less developed. It's it's the funny irony that we didn't expect our economy to develop, so we didn't do anything, but then something did happen because we didn't develop, and now we're not developing as fast as we did before. It's a funny irony. And the remaining of this is just basically talking about crisis management and how we've handled it throughout the years. But now that I went through every single point that I wanted to go through about why why we're facing this and how did this happen, I want to go to solutions, because for me, what is important to me is to solve a problem is these few steps. Simplifying, of course. Number one, identify the problem. What is the problem? Electricity is not there. Yeah, it is. The electricity is not there. There's obviously a problem, but how did it come to be? What is the characteristic of the problem? What led to its event and other things as well. And since we identified that already, that our poor infrastructure, our lack of planning, and our non-ability to recognize this sort of thing in the future, now we're going to have to ask ourselves, what is the solution? Now, since we as South Africans aren't the wealthiest nation, not all of us can just buy solar panels and just remove ourselves from Eskom, completely cut the wires, and we no longer need them. We can't do that anymore. So what we have to do is vote. And so I'm going to go through the political parties and ask them, not ask them, but I'm going to go through the political parties and see what their plans are to resolve the current crisis that we're facing. Now, I want to clarify one thing. I attempted to this lengthy search to find the EFF and the ANC websites information on their uh, future to how they will handle the energy crisis, but I could find nothing. If you can find it, please do say it in the comments below. I'll pin it. I'll love it. To just because I could not find this information, I had to find external information that I could prescribe to their broad thoughts on it. So, but the DA, of course, has a lot of things on a lot of different topics, and they at least provided information. So, what's there? Um, there's a little video that goes through it as well. That but again, this one will also be linked in the description below. So, and the reason why I'm going through these, DA, EFF, and ANC is because those are the most likely party to get into parliament and to affect real change, because they're the ones who hold most of the political power in South Africa at the current moment and the most ability to change it. So, with the DA, they say privatize electricity generation. This includes allowing citizens to generate their own power to keep the lights on. Change the law so businesses and individuals can sell the extra electricity they generate onto the grid for others. Offer a 75,000 Rand tax rebate to cover the cost of installing solar systems in homes to take the pressure off the grid. Zero rate VAT on LED light bulbs and energy efficient appliances. Allow for municipalities to purchase power from independent power producers rather than having to rely on Eskom. So, and the last bit is just timeline on activism on Eskom. It goes all the way back to 2013. It's very interesting. Go read it. It's a lot of information. So now I want to not only just give you the information, but also give the legitimacy to each of these ones, because I feel like some of them will work and some of them will not. So on the first topic, saying privatizing electricity generation, and then also purchasing from power productions that aren't Eskom. Now, I take issue with this, not because I'm adverse to the idea of other people generating their power. If you want a solar panel, get a solar panel. If you want to make your own energy and not be part of the government energy systems, go for it. I don't mind that. What I do mind is that having something that is vital as electricity, as I said before, I think it's a fundamental game changer for all of us. It's on the same level as money, as the great liberator, because if I don't have electricity, it's a basic necessity, I believe. If I don't have electricity, I'm at a far, far huger disadvantage than the rest of other people who have electricity. Because if I don't have it, it fundamentally changes how my life works, what media I consume, how I internalize the world. It's a thing that affects us to such a degree where it's like interconnected with our ways of living currently. And I don't think that we should have that sort of thing be on the whims of privatization, because a lot of privatization can be done very poorly, and a lot of countries who have electricity companies are poor management, poor poor upkeep, and also they have high rates. They rate a lot of money for electricity at the time, especially because you can see from other countries that a lot of electricity companies will get huge, and then they will section off different parts of the countries so that they would not have to compete with each other, and also that they would basically spend their own bring up the amount of money that you need to buy for electricity. And that's what I don't like. I don't like that. I don't want that to be the thing that has us like grip hold, because I think it's a far worse fate than what Eskom is now. Because I think Eskom just needs to be um, a non-profit organization that makes electricity. Other things like and this one is basically the same thing as I think of the first one. Don't want privatization. Offer 75,000 tax rebate to cover the cost of it. I think this is good. I honestly think this is good thing, more solar panels and more installation of the solar panels is a good thing. We need more of that because it's renewable, it's less time consuming, and it does have better maintenance than normal coal plants. And also, it's better for the environment for reasons. Zero rate VAT on LED light bulbs and energy efficient appliances. Now, small tangent here. Um, I don't like that. I think that's a useless tax system that it only serves to make poorer people poorer and richer people unaffected. I have no reason, no arguments for why that is a good system, and so I think this is a really good thing. To if the because I think the DA should just, and also the NC and EFF should just automatically get rid of that. That is a terrible, terrible system for taxation. And then same as my thoughts on the top and the below, I don't really want independent power producers independent from ESCOM. I think ESCOM should be more transparent, but I don't think that ESCOM should be removed as the only power provider, because again, I equate it to, because here's the thing, demand and supply are an integral part of our system today. If there's demand, there'll be supply. If there's no demand, there's going to be no supply. That's how it works. And also the whole money thing. If there's a lot of demand, money will be high. If there's low demand, money will be low. It's a whole complicated issue that I can't get into now. But for electricity, the demand will never go down. Everyone needs electricity. Everyone requires electricity to live in a modern life. No one's gonna like no one's not everyone's gonna become like an Amish person or farmers who don't need electricity. Even then, farmers are becoming more electricity dependent because it's just more efficient because they're being outcompeted by other farmers. Electricity is an infinite demanding business. And I don't think that can be reliably done by the private market because the private market needs a working supply and demand curve. If they don't have a working supply and demand curve, they will have a tendency towards monopolies. That happens with a lot of healthcare industries and a lot of other industries like with food, because they'll mm, they'll attempt to go on the supply and demand curve, but it oftentimes will go bust. And that's where a lot of regulation has to happen. So it keeps in check all of these businesses so they don't just break out and force us to spend like $1,000. Yes, and also the entire world's working on dollars in my system now, in my fantasy world. 1,000 rand for apples. And now we're going to go to the EFF. Again, could not find it on the website, could not find it on any other website that is associated with the EFF. I'm real hard pressed to find this. If you do have it, please just comment down below. Again, I'll pin it and whatnot. So this is a protest they had due to Alexandria. You can read it, it's in the description below. But they basically were supporting people in that township, saying they should have the right to be able to keep their legal connections. Now, this is what the EFF want. They want for every single South African to have it, even if it's a bit illegal, which I'm not really too happy with, because the illegal connections are bad for a lot of reasons. They put strain on the power, they they put strain on the power grid, they divert electricity that was supposed to be intended for other areas, and put a lot of wacky things. Okay, so with illegal connections, since they are not put in properly, they will sometimes fail, they'll sometimes cause blackouts, and it's very poor for the power grid. And I don't think the EFF is going in the right direction for how they want to handle the power grid, because it seems like they're less interested in making it like connected for everything, because this article does not suggest the EFF wants to make everything connected to one singular source that is maintained by professional individuals. It just seems like they're just like okay with people just taking power lines and just going with that. Yeah, not good. And then with the ANC, since elder government currently, I'm just going to go through the plans here because again, I also could not find on the website. Again, if you have it, please comment down below. So planned maintenance. 80% of our coal-fired power stations have reached or are past their midlife cycle. To understand how the plant maintenance can impact on the capacity to supply, think of the power plant as a motor vehicle like a car or a truck. It is used every day, but once a year or after done a certain amount of mileage, it has been taken for a service that includes things like checking all the moving parts are still good in condition, applying lubricant between moving parts, replacing old parts or parts at risk of breaking soon. Like maintenance with your car, on the power station cannot be compromised. If we do, this could have serious consequences, could place the entire grid at risk. So their basic plan is to have huge maintenance throughout the entire country and to slowly transition from um, from fossil fuels to solar. Now, this isn't suggested in this one that's here, but in many other ANC conferences and whatnot, they suggest this. I just could not find an official website on their website that says this, but it is out there. So we just went through a whole lot of things, a whole lot of things. We went through how we got into this situation before and all that entails, were the solutions, and criticized some of the solutions that are brought about here and whatnot, because I think it's very important to make sure that all of this is discussed thoroughly and isn't discussed with flowery language or isn't discussed with um, an assumption that you're dumb. If you followed along, thank you for doing that. If you do need a bit more clarification, read through these articles, try to see if you can understand it yourself and whatnot. And I hope this was very informational, somewhat entertaining, and I hope you have a nice day. And I hope we can get through this power crisis together. If you want change, you have to participate in the change. It cannot happen without you. You have to participate in it. Thank you very much. And I'll leave off on this joke at the beginning. Goodbye.